Good morning on this Sunday in the middays of fall with a chill in the air. We are so glad that you've joined us today. I'm Martha Sincula and I'm your service leader. Welcome to the Umpqua Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Just a side note, you may wonder why I have this costume on. It is my sincere habit. I like to do it. Every time around Halloween and we celebrate Dia de los Muertos, I have to dress up as one of the characters, so please bear with me. It's my one time a year I get to do this. Today our speaker is Michael Wheeler. He will be available after the service for an afternoon sermon Zoom discussion at check-in at 11:15. Email invitations with the links to the service and the meeting are sent out between Saturday evening and Sunday morning. More than likely, it should be Saturday evening. Now, if you haven't not yet used Zoom, Google the Zoom free video conferencing tool and download the free app. You can do this on your phone, your tablet, or your computer. Follow the prompts, and you can join us. Otherwise, these discussions are recorded so that you can view them anytime on YouTube, just like our services. Links to all the services are in our weekly UMQuest newsletter, where you can click on the links to get to the service. We thank Michael Wheeler and Lucy Swangham for their work on producing these videos for our services each week. It's important we make every effort to stay connected with one another during this physical separation. Please call and check in with members of our congregation. And if you know how to find us on YouTube, perhaps you can help others who might find it difficult to find us, so that as many of us as possible can participate in our services. And, of course, since you're using YouTube to view this service, please click on the red subscribe bar or link, and this will make it much easier to find us each week. Actually, anytime. We always begin our service with our lighting of our chalice, a symbol of our faith. Our chalice lighting words this morning are, "They Are Still With Us," by Kathleen McKee. In the struggles we choose for ourselves, in the ways we move forward in our lives, and bring our world forward with us, it is right to remember the names of those who gave us strength in this choice of living. It is right to name the power of hard lives well lived. We share a history with those lives. We belong to the same motion. They too were strengthened by what had gone before. They too were drawn on by the vision of what might come up to be. Those who lived before us, who struggled for justice and suffered injustice before us, have not melted into the dust, have not disappeared. They are with us still. The lives they have lived hold us steady. Their words remind us and call us back to ourselves. Their courage and love invoke our own. We, the living, carry them with us. We are their voices, their hands, and their hearts. We take them with us, and with them choose the deeper path of living. Our opening words today is called, "I Heard Your Voice in the Wind Today." The author of this lovely poem is unknown. I heard your voice in the wind today, and I turned to see your face. The warmth of the wind caressed me as I stood silently in place. I felt your touch in the sun today as its warmth filled the sky. I closed my eyes for your embrace, and my spirit soared high. I saw your eyes in the window pane as I watched the falling rain. It seems as each raindrop fell, it quietly said your name. I held you close in my heart today. It made me feel complete. You may have died, but you're not gone. You will always be a part of me. As long as the sun shines, the wind blows, the rain falls. You will live on inside of me forever, for that is all my heart knows. Now is the time in our service for reflection. So find a comfortable position. Feet on the floor, hands perhaps in your lap. And as we take a slow breath in, and a slow breath out, let us gather our energies as we participate in a three-part meditation. Listen to the words, spend some time in silence, and enjoy the music. Our words today come from the translation of the Catholic Requiem Mass, quite a bit different than what many of the congregation believe, but it's historically interesting. This is called the Absolution of the Dead, or the Responsory. Deliver me, O Lord, from death eternal in that fearful day, when the heavens and the earth shall be shaken, when thou shalt come to judge the world by fire. I am in fear and trembling, till the sifting be upon us, and the wrath to come, when the heavens and the earth shall be shaken. On that day of anger, of calamity and misery, a great day and exceeding bitter, when thou shalt come to judge the world by fire. Rest eternal grant unto them, O Lord, and let light perpetual shine upon them. Deliver me, O Lord, from death eternal in that fearful day, when the heavens and the earth shall be shaken, and when thou shalt judge the world by fire. This is the antiphon. And may the angels lead you into paradise. May the martyrs receive you at your arrival and lead you to the holy city of Jerusalem. May choirs of angels receive you, and with Lazarus once more, may you have eternal rest. Our speaker today is Michael Wheeler, our Director of Music here at UUC. Michael holds a master's certificate in music theory, harmony, and ear training from the Berklee School of Music, a Bachelor of Arts degree in music history from Charter Oak State College, a Master of Arts in ethnomusicology, which is studying shamanic drumming, Eastern Orthodox chant, Indo-Persian sacred music, and folk dance of the British Isles, a Master of Fine Arts in Music, composition from Vermont College of the Fine Arts, and a Doctor of Sacred Music from the Interfaith Theological Seminary, where his dissertation, Examination of Meditative and Therapeutic Dance as Practice for Well-Being, was referred to as groundbreaking. Outside of his musical studies, Dr. Wheeler holds advanced diplomas in philosophy, psychology, and sociology, as well as being a certified life coach through Archaeology Ltd, UK. He is an ordained minister through the International Metaphysical Ministry, during which time he developed practices of meditation and hypnosis. Michael's primary focus in ministry is examining the role of the story in its shaping of self and community. And as you may know, he's also our director, videographer, and editor of all our recorded sermons that you're seeing every week, doing excellent work. Thank you, Michael.
Well, greetings, UU family, on this final Sunday here in October. It is my privilege, as has been for the past couple of years now, to be allowed to deliver the Dia de los Muertos service. And each year I try to introduce a new concept, or maybe building on the year's previous concept. And what I'd really like to focus on this year is the concept of how we exist after our physical life has ended. And perhaps examining some of the cultures that posit different kinds of existences, and hopefully that will lead into a discussion on our post-service discussion of what you believe, because I'm very interested in what the congregation believes and what the guests and the friends believe. So hopefully we'll get to have a good, robust conversation about everybody's ideas regarding this stuff. So it's a very personal concept for me, because I remember that some of my earliest memories dealing with fear really surrounded the concept of death, and how my young brain couldn't really process the idea of the end of existence, or at least the end of physical existence, that this was something that was very palpably terrifying to me. And there is, I think, a human universal of fear surrounding fear of pain, for sure, because pain is so tremendously unpleasant. But perhaps more profoundly, fear of the unknown. And with all of our discussions about order and chaos, that chaos really represents the unknown, but it's also the fertile ground that we go in order to find, it's the creative force. And we've had a lot of conversations about that with a lot of speakers, not just myself, but Donna's been talking about it too. So how do we wrestle with that idea of fear of pain and fear of the unknown? My contention is, and has been throughout my entire ministry, is that the primary way we cope with these phenomenons, these perhaps instinctual fears built into us by nature, is that we tell stories. And stories allow us an ability to contextualize what it is we understand and attack both intellectually and emotionally what we don't understand. So let me start with a story that I have told before, but it's been quite a while, and I think it is worth telling again. And this is the story of the king and his 4 wives. And it goes like this. There is a great king, and he's dying. He is old, and he knows that his days are numbered. And so he goes to his 4th wife, because he's quite afraid of death. He goes to his 4th wife, which was his favorite wife. He loved to buy her clothes and jewelry and adorn her and really worshiped her youth and beauty. And he said, "My darling, I am dying, I am afraid. I want you to go with me into the afterlife." And the 4th wife says, "I cannot follow you into the afterlife. It was never destined for me to follow you into the afterlife." And dejected, the king then goes to his 3rd wife, his 2nd favorite wife, and says to her, "My darling, I'm afraid of going into the afterlife alone, and will you come with me?" And the 3rd wife says, "Not only can I not go with you, but as soon as you're dead, I plan on marrying another." And he was very distraught over this news as well. And then he goes to his 2nd wife and says, "I want you to follow me into the afterlife." And she says, "My darling, I can't, but I will do this. I will perform a great ceremony for you, and we will bewail that you have left us, and we will mourn you, and we will keep you in our hearts always, and this I can promise to you." And finally, the king goes to his 1st wife and says the same thing. "I want you to follow me into the afterlife." And she says, "My darling, it's not even a choice that you and I were destined to travel all roads together and even into the afterlife." And the idea is this, that we all have 4 wives. The 4th wife, the one that we tend to love the most and adorn with beautiful things, is our body. And it is the thing that leaves us the soonest. Our 3rd wife is our possessions, and that after we are gone, others will inherit it. That's why she was ready to marry as soon as her husband died. Our 2nd wife is our family and friends, who cannot follow us really anywhere, but mourn our passing when we're gone. But the 1st wife is our soul, the thing that always accompanies us and that we take with us everywhere we go. And I've always found that to be a beautiful story, a beautiful story really showing perspective of what matters in this physical existence that we live in. And for me, that has been, especially in recent years, my faith. So how do we tackle this idea of death philosophically, that we would love, in many cases, to live forever? Or else why should there be so many media about those immortal creatures? Right, that we can read comic books and watch movies and television shows about the creatures that never die. And so you could think about the movies that are made about Greek gods and goddesses, and these are, mimics of the statues of these perfectly formed humans, and they're beautiful in all ways, and they are immortal. They live forever because they eat the fruit of the gods. Same thing with the Asgard gods, the Norse mythology. In recent years, there are the stories of the immortal and perpetually young and sexy vampires. That we can go from Interview with a Vampire to Twilight to Vampire Diaries. There is no shortage of media about the always youthful but somehow sexily sadistic creatures that roam the night looking for blood. Quite a stretch from the original Dracula stories or even before. There's also a concept in story of resurrection. And for this, we could go back to certainly the Jesus story, where Jesus conquers the grave. He conquers death to be reborn in a new godlike image. And then there's the less palatable resurrection stories of the zombie. And zombies have become very popular too, that the body dies and then the body without a soul becomes reanimated. And as we're approaching Halloween, I assume that we'll see more than a few zombie stories. So these are concepts, some of them quite attractive, some of them quite ugly, about the concept of immortality. And if you think of it, this is very appealing to us because it allows us the escape from the painful or the unknown. But to that I say, and again, this is a quote that I read, I think, almost every year. But this is from Michel de Montaigne in his really seminal essay titled "To Study Philosophy is to Learn to Die." And Montaigne says to us, almost speaking on behalf of God, it's supposed to be God's voice. So, God speaking to humanity, wrestling with the idea of death, he says, "Do but seriously consider how much more insupportable and painful an immortal life would be to man than what I have already given him. If you had not death, you would eternally curse me for having deprived you of it. I have mixed a little bitterness with it, to the end, that seeing of what convenience it is, you might not too greedily and indiscreetly seek the embrace of it, and that you might be so established in this moderation as neither to nauseate life, nor to have any antipathy for dying, which I have decreed you shall once do. I have tempered the one and the other betwixt pleasure and pain." And so think about this, that if life were nothing but pure suffering, I do believe that life is defined by suffering. I think that the majority of life can be summarized as a painful experience. But if life were pure suffering with nothing to look forward to in life, then we might as well rush towards death as soon as possible. That's not the case, though. There are pleasures that we experience in life, and I'm not talking about just like the physical pleasures of, oxytocin and cuddling, love, sex, alcohol, drugs. Those are pleasurable. But the real pleasures, the real enlightening pleasures that come from community and human interaction, is really what I think makes life a beautiful experience and something that ought to be maintained. So we live for those moments, and that when in the end of life, hopefully, if things go according to the way we would like it to be, if things go according to the plan that we all think of as being a life well lived, that at this point of our life where we are most prone to suffer, then our suffering is alleviated through death. And that's more or less what Montaigne has to say on that. So, in what ways might we exist beyond death? Well, really, the world's religions have given us two beliefs. And the first would be the idea of heaven. And if you've ever met somebody who's had a near-death experience, the stories, or watched a documentary on this, or listened to a podcast on this subject, the stories are remarkably consistent about what people experience in a near-death experience, of being surrounded by white light and the idea of heaven, and in some cases meeting God or hearing God's voice. These are extraordinary stories to hear. And the other possibility that the world's religions have given us, as far as existing beyond our body's physical death, is that of reincarnation. And reincarnation, there are people, and I used to be one of these people. I have no memories of this anymore, but my mother will, for anybody who's listening, will bore you with stories of her reincarnated Japanese son. That's me, by the way. That there are people who will say that they have memories from previous lives. Now, I have no reason to believe that these people are being dishonest any more than I have any reason to believe that people who experience heaven and near-death experiences are being dishonest. Might there be other explanations for their experiences? Absolutely. I think that's certainly a case. I can tell you that I've had very lucid dreams, or dreams in general, that feel like memories, even though they're things that I never experienced in at least this life. So there's a lot that we don't know, and it's very possible that we will never know. When it comes to a post-physical existence. But it is so fascinating. It is so fascinating to consider. So people will often ask me, what do I believe? And I have a tendency to only give over belief to things that I can be relatively sure of. My belief system has been incredibly hard fought. That anything that I can say I know for sure, it has only come through the most vigorous study. And that if I have an opinion on something, I will listen to absolutely every other opinion I can find on something before I make up my mind. And because there's just too much and too many unknowns when it comes to the afterlife, I can't give over belief into anything necessarily. But I will say this: how is it that we can be sure we live after we die? And for that, I can tell you that really belongs in the realm of our second wife. And that's our family and friends and the people that we've touched. It is no small miracle that we are able, through our good example, and perhaps detrimentally our bad example, which is why we need to maximize the good and minimize the bad. But it's no small miracle that we are able to change people's lives. And I am quite happy with the idea of being a positive influence on the world, being my life after my physical body is gone. The good deeds that we've done, the times that we've shown compassion, the lessons that we've taught, these are all extraordinary ways that we live not only beyond our body after we've died, but beyond our body while we are alive. And perhaps there's somebody out there who will say, is that all we get? And for those of us who have been able to enjoy this galactic lottery that we've won of getting to exist, we might ask, what more do you think you have the right to ask for other than this beautiful existence and the community that we share? I would like to wish you all a very happy Dia de los Muertos. And for our discussion, let's talk about who lives in your heart, who may be not with us anymore. Have a beautiful Sunday. Talk to you soon.
Our closing words today is called grief, author unknown. Grief is the last act of love we can give to those we loved. Where there is deep grief, there was great love.